concerned while chances keep on passing us by. We're looking to others and living a lie. Why even bother all this effort just to get by? We're placing the pieces, we're playing the game. Watch as it ceases, looking back at what we became. No one is special, we're all just the same. Tell you what you should believe. There's a limit to what you can achieve. There's a line in the sand that you cannot cross to quench your desire. Don't be fooled by your dreams. There's no way that you will get any higher. There's a chance you'll get fired, so it's better to extinguish your fire.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Down in the Valley, brought to you by, the Beautiful Game Network and Natural Beauty Spa. To see our podcast, as well as other USL podcasts and articles, be sure to check out their website at bgn.fm. You can also check out this podcast on Spotify, TuneIn Radio, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. For those of you that are currently listening through the podcast audio, we go live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/downinthevalley. Now, a quick little side note regarding the podcast. We put up a poll regarding how you wanted the podcast to be formatted. You spoke, and we're listening. So there's going to be some changes. Each individual episode will be segments of the show rather than the complete show, in order to maintain the attention and hopefully allow you to be able to listen to each individual topic that we talk about on this show. So we appreciate your feedback and just wanted to let you all know that we are that we are listening to it and we are taking it into consideration. Having said this, I do want to thank our BGN sponsors, Icarus FC, as well as Roughneck Scarves. And
What?
for this show today, once again, we have our good friend of the podcast and collaborator for Down in the Valley, as well as the mastermind behind South Texas Border Sports, Ray Silva. Ray, how you doing?
Edson, good day to you, sir. How's everything going in the land of Houston, Texas?
It's sunny. It's everything real good so far, and I can't wait to actually having some soccer stuff like real soccer or Toro soccer stuff to talk about the on this episode. I'm tired of always talking about COVID-19, even though it's still a reality. But finally, at least for as long as it lasts, we're gonna have some soccer specific topics to talk about from here on out.
Yes, definitely. Friday night, Saturday in El Paso, between the Texas Border Derby, as I like to call it, two bordering regions, El
Mm-hmm.
Paso, Rio Grande Valley. Can't wait to get that game started on Saturday night.
8:30 p.m. if I'm not mistaken. So be sure to check it all out. It'll be on ESPN Plus. Now I do know that the that this season Somos El Valle will be broadcasting the Toros games, though I'm not sure if it's only the home games. Once again, so if you really want to watch the games, well, I guess you're gonna have to buy ESPN Plus or hang out if the Stampede or anybody does a watch party. You can always hang out with us and get to interact with everybody while the game is happening. But
I,
USL is finally back, and I'm really happy for it.
yeah, I will tell you this much. Uh, Living here in the Rio Grande Valley, and as a frequent viewer now of Somos El Valle, uh, I'm sorry, but they've been running commercials about the Toros, yes, but not particularly about the home games being transmitted through Somos El Valle. Uh, I will say that much for now.
Hmm.
So
But
uh,
you do bring up a good point, and I think it has to deal with one of the questions that I asked during the week, which thank everybody who participated on the Twitter poll. So basically, I asked, with the current situation with the pandemic, a lot of people have lost their jobs. A lot of people don't have that disposable income like they used to have before. Now they're thinking, how can I bring food to the table when I don't have a job? Instead of, okay, can I do I get the complete package with Hulu, ESPN, and Disney Plus? So for a lot of people, $5.99 may not be a lot of money per month, but to many people who are living in a uncomfortable situation where they don't have a job, that's a luxury they cannot afford. So my question was, how would fans preferred to be able to watch the games for free? We used to have a Somos El Valle at least for the home games, if I recall correctly. Since I
mhm.
live in Houston, I don't have access to Somos El Valle, but as far as I know, I believe it was just home games. I also gave the option of radio broadcasting, and of course Twitch or Facebook, uh, which has been thrown around. You see the NWSL passing their games, at least internationally, outside of the U.S. and Canada market. They broadcast the NWSL Challenge Cup games through Twitch. So it'd be. I think those are good solutions that I think a lot of teams, including RGV, should take into consideration, especially with the fact that I am pretty sure nothing has been confirmed, which is another topic that I do want to talk about. But more than likely, there's not going to be fans at the games. So we need to find a way so that most of the fans or all of the fans that want to watch the game could be able to do so without having to incur an additional expense that, like I said, may not be a luxury for people now in this situation.
Yeah, I mean that's just one of the things that uh, the club is probably still working very diligently. And right now, since their uh, HB Park and Bird Ogden Arena are serving as major testing sites for COVID-19, I think they're a little bit tied up as to how they're gonna maneuver their information out to the public when it comes to stuff like this of the Toros.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I participated in your Twitter poll, and I am always in the minority when I answer. I believe I went with radio. Why radio? Because it's audio stream. You can listen online. You can uh, it may not be the same as watching the game like on an ESPN Plus or local television, but I went with radio because that's probably the easiest and most cost effective way to transmit games.
However, you do go with the additional problem or issue that you have to have broadcasters that or play-by-play commentators that are good enough to be able to visually paint a picture on the listeners' minds
Hmm.
with them not when they're not watching the game. You know, it's one thing to have a play-by-play commentator on TV because you can pretty much see what's going on the field.
Hmm.
Whereas on radio, you have no idea what's going on the field, so they have to do a really good job in describing with their words what's going on the pitch.
Hmm.
The question is, those kind of commentators cost money,
Yes, I
and
completely understand that, but I'm talking with regards to the format of transmission.
no, no, and you're exactly right. Another biggest thing is if you're on the radio, you don't have to be at home. Well, you should be at home, but in the case you're an essential worker, and let's say you're driving, to your job while the game is, you can turn on the radio and you can listen to it in the car. Whereas if you're driving and you're watching on ESPN Plus, and that's a whatchamacallit,
Huge
that's a
mistake.
drive. Yeah, that's a hazard. You know, so radio could be a plausible choice. However, we used to have a radio broadcast before, and
Hmm.
I can tell by your face that it was not very popular. Or
No, not that it wasn't real popular. It was just a short term deal. I'm just gonna put it like that. It was a short term deal. It was a 1 year thing, and that was it.
mhm,
And what I really liked about the radio thing is that it was done in Spanish.
in Univision Deportes Network, the
Yep.
radio, yes. So these are the kind of things that I feel like RGV needs to take into consideration. And I think what Harry brings to the table here on the chat, I think he's got a point. He says, "To me, the bigger picture is how do you grow the fan base, especially if fans are not allowed. That's why the TV is very important this year. And then he asks, which would have a bigger reach, radio or secondary TV channels?"
Secondary TV channels are a little bit more sophisticated because, say, you don't have the access to the antenna wave signals, and I know because I'm a guilty party of that. You see, I don't have the only cable television I have is YouTube television. Okay, I had to install a rabbit ear antenna outdoors to connect multiple televisions to get my local news source.
Mm-hmm.
Because I live in a heavily bilingual area, and the channel where the Toros games are transmitted, at least the home slate with almost El Valle 5.2. That's a very difficult channel to find if you have say a Spectrum. While on over-the-air television, if you're lucky enough and have a strong enough of an antenna to get channel 5.1, well, the next one right next to it is 5.2, which carries a lot of bilingual programming, which is good for me because my Spanish isn't that good, so I get to embrace and learn a second language. I mean, yes, now I can talk a little bit more Spanish. I can read it and write it, but it serves as a good a fluent point when you have the necessary resources to uh, get such things.
And I think the biggest issue so far that about Somos El Valle, definitely, like you say, in Spectrum, it's all the way to the back. You're talking about, like, what is it,
1240.
1240? Yeah. So you're in channel 1240. You have to have that box in
Yep.
order to get that channel. And also the idea that usually, even last year, it wasn't really uh, promoted a lot.
Yeah, and
The
a lot
biggest
of
promotion was ESPN Plus because that's where the money comes from
mhm.
into the pockets of the USL teams.
Yeah, and being that I work for UTRGV Athletics, that channel was like heavily promoted amongst the games for public address announcements and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And that was kind of a smart move to kind of promote their channel like that to get because yes, while UTRGV uh, is a university, they kind of opened up to those horizons. But back to Toro's talk, real quick, it's just something that I see a commercial, like say once like every 30 minutes,
Hmm.
how they cover the team and whatnot. But it's one of those things where uh if they have like some sort of like media deal, I guess they have to promote that frequently per se. It's just got to go hand in glove
Hmm.
when it comes to promoting uh, channel promotion per se.
So I think we have to do a. I think first of all, the fact that we did get confirmation that for this season, Somos El Valle will continue to be the over the air provider of the Toros games
Hmm.
in the area of the Rio Grande Valley. However, had no idea that it was a multi-year. And if I did not have an idea, I'm pretty sure a lot of people out there in the fan base have no idea that it is. And I have yet to see an announcement from the team mentioning that once again, this is going to be broadcasted on the Somos El Valle channel. And now we have Jacob Young, our good friend and co-host, coming into the show. Jacob, how's it going?
Yeah, doing pretty well. Looking forward to talking some soccer here. It's going to be fun because also I know it's kind of like I guess we don't necessarily love to talk about it here, but the MLS also starting back up tonight, so it's very fun.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Jacob. Fun times indeed. Soccer's coming back to the U.S. and it might be like that for quite some time now.
I don't know about you, but I'm going to be watching the Houston Dash at 9. So, I mean,
There you go.
so quick comments before I want to get Jacob's point of view and then move on to the next topic. Justin says, I'd have to say TV, although there is some nostalgia there listening over the radio, but your bigger reach is on TV. And then Harry responds, my problem is that ESPN Plus is not bringing in the average fan. There is just so much on there, especially in fall where you have MLS, college sports, football, volleyball, tennis, etc., etc., etc. But it's not doing a good job in attracting fans that are not currently USL fans or Toros fans for them to have the ability to stumble upon it and hey, we have a team, kind of thing like that. And I think there's a similar there was a similar issue with a lot of US or NWSL fans with when they announced that the matches for the NWSL Challenge Cup was going to be through CBS All Access. I saw a similar complaint on it there. It's like, well, how are we gonna attract new fans in because the current fans are going to be paying CBS All Access to watch the games, but how are we going to attract those that have no idea the NWSL is back or soccer in general is back? So, Jacob, your point of thoughts. What do you think would be the best way to broadcast games outside of ESPN Plus for this 2020 return to play season?
Yeah, it's really interesting in this sort of thing of, well, ESPN Plus, especially now, you have this type of discount where you can get all three services for free. Thank you. Or not for free, but like 2 extra services for basically the price of one. Something like, of course, I think you get Disney Plus and something else. So if you buy either one of those, it adds up. It's something like that. But of course, you're correct on it's just average fans. Is there any better opportunity or better way for us to do this? Yes, but then it becomes this whole deal of, are they making money? Are the companies basically, for example, is the USL making at least a little bit of money? I don't know how much, as we've had this conversation before, how much they're making with ESPN Plus, if any. So it's this whole deal of kind of this back and forth thing. I would love to see it on just, if CBS actually, because CBS only had, the problem goes back to CBS only having 2 platforms, ESPN having about 4 platforms to show games on. So it becomes this whole stress thing if they can't bombard it with that stuff. There are better ways, but then it gets back into just the streaming services and where everything is going in general. And I think that's a better way, but if you want to make money off of it, then of course you got to go with the subscription base.
I mean, the thing is that we're not trying to get rid of ESPN Plus or anything like that. It's just at this moment, with a lot of people not having enough money to get the subscription, should we have a backup plan? Whether it's over the air broadcasting, Facebook or Twitch, or even the radio, like I mentioned on the.
Just remember, guys, before ESPN kicked in, or ESPN Plus would kick in, they had their number one platform was YouTube. So that's the thing that I would probably consider doing, YouTube audio only with like a score bug, because that's how most second like I've seen some sort of second division league soccer from Europe, like the Spanish one. They'll go to that, being that they don't have that much network access in Spain to do their Spanish television games for their second divisions. And I know it's kind of fruits to apples type of comparison, but if the USL wants to be a little bit more proactive with the fan situation and trying to get the average fan involved, I would probably use YouTube as a platform to transmit their games kind of before they set into this ESPN Plus format.
So just real quick, just a quick reminder, guys. At 7:30, we're gonna have Coach Gerson Echeverry on the show. Just be a little bit patient. He will be on at 7:30. We will be discussing with him, the outlook of the team towards El Paso, what he expects out of El Paso. What his scouting from the last couple of games, what he's learned from El Paso Locomotive. How can we beat them? The current outlook of the roster. And if you guys have any questions, you can put it on the chat. and we'll try to ask them to him. Go ahead, Jacob.
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, I kind of agree with Ray on that, especially if you turn off the comments on YouTube or even going to Facebook. If you just turn off those comments, it's a perfect platform to listen, of course, or to be able to watch the game, just like we said, the old days of USL. Basically, just watching those, that was a fantastic time. I understand why they went to ESPN Plus, because it was new. They kind of got on the front foot and tried to, of course, expand their listings. But just like you said, it hasn't necessarily been the case. So yeah, maybe YouTube, that's the best way to go from here on for NWSL or anybody, basically.
Yeah. So I guess, like I said, we'll see what happens. We really wish RGV would make an announcement like right off the bat. We are about 3 days away from the start of the restart of the season, and we have yet to hear anything about that. Another announcement that has yet to be made, and I'm like, well, are they gonna make it or not? Like this is important to know beforehand, and that is fans in the stadium. You know, just give me an announcement what is going to happen, even if it's on a temporary basis. No stadium, at least give me something. Let the fans know what the direction is going to be. El Paso Locomotive has already decided not to have fans in the stadium. Austin Bold has also decided not to have fans in the stadium. San Antonio, it's San Antonio. They have not made a formal announcement. RGV has not made a formal announcement either. What is there to think about?
Yeah.
Look at how bad things are getting in the Rio Grande Valley.
Yep.
Why take the risk of making HEB Park a hotspot? I mean, it would look bad that, yes, right now HEB Park and Bird Octon Arena are serving as COVID test sites, which is a good thing. But then you turn around and the season starts and now they're going to be the hotspot because they're allowing fans in. I don't think so. At least personally to me. I don't know what everybody, I don't know about anybody in the chat thinks. I don't know about what you two guys think, but just give a formal announcement before the season begins. I was expecting one last week, have heard nothing about it. The numbers continue to rise and rise and rise. Yep. And we still have not heard anything from Golden Grape Entertainment regarding fans in the stadium. It's about time somebody, como dicen, enseñen la cara, figuratively grab the bull by its horns and just make a statement. Just make a statement of what's going to happen. This whole thing of not knowing or trying to do it at the last minute possible because you're really trying to squeeze in and having fans at the stadium. To me, it's not a good look given the circumstances that are happening in the Rio Grande Valley currently.
Go
ahead, Ray.
And I agree with you, Edson. I mean, it's just one of those things where you gotta have some common sense and not have any fans in the stands at this point. I mean, it's real sad how everything is going on right now. But, I just hope within the next 24 hours there's some sort of statement from the club to at least have no fans in the stands with this ongoing epidemic.
And speaking of the situation, we'll put that topic on pause because currently right now we have our RGVFC head coach, Gerson Echeverry, live on the show. How are you doing, Coach?
What's going on, fellas? How's everything going?
Good evening, Coach. How are you?
Good. Guess I got to beg to be on your show nowadays, huh? That's really, oh, wow.
Ya perdí la humildad. Ya me creo. I feel like I'm already like freaking.
¿Crees Aldo Farías?
Yeah. Oh no. Ooh. That's a low blow, man.
Ouch. Gol de la U de Nuevo León. No. Like anyways, that's a completely different discussion. But we're glad to have you on, Coach. I honestly, I thought that we would not be able to get you on this week since you are preparing for the beginning or the return of the USL Championship. That's why I didn't request for you, but I'm glad to see that
I'm a humble guy. Come on, man. I'm a humble young man. Well, not young anymore, but man.
Está joven todavía. But one of the things that I did want to talk about, first of all, we want you to kind of give an update on the team so far as they're heading into the traveling to El Paso.
No, it's. I mean, I think ever since we started training, the mood of the guys just skyrocketed. These guys, all they know how to do is they're here, they want to play, and so when you took that away from them for so many months, it was pretty hard, especially when they're at the peak of, they're at, right now it's so close to making it where they want to be, and so that's a difficult part. And so obviously it was nothing that we could do. It was out of our hands. So when we were allowed to start doing the individual training sessions, that kind of gave new life to them. And then obviously that started becoming a little. Then we were able to implement 2, and then okay, and then 3, and then 6, and so forth. And so as we started adding numbers, it was better and better. And then when it was, and obviously when we had the permission to go full contact, and that's given a different vibe to the whole team, and just to all of us, to be quite frank, obviously not the ideal situations when you want to prepare. Hence, that's why some of the protocols have been in place with the 5 substitutions and things like that, because it's just physically, no one's injured. We don't have any injuries, but once you start that demand, you could, So, so it's good right now, and I think everybody's been working hard. They're getting after it, and really psyched to start on, at El Paso.
So what have you now going into El Paso? What have you learned about? I don't know if. What have you learned about El Paso from these past couple of matches? What can you expect from out of El Paso going into this match?
It's tough because obviously, I think we're a little different from when we were in March. So I'm assuming they might be probably not. We're not as fit as we were. In March. I doubt they're going to be. I mean, we watched the game against OC, and we're able to see that there's one characteristic that El Paso has because of its coach. Of their coach, is that a very possession-oriented team. They want to keep the ball. They want to be very patient with the ball and move the ball around, get numbers into the attack. So, we were able to see those traits, not only from last year, but also even in their previous game at OC. So, they had some really good moments in which, the ball movement, they have some guys that are very tricky and can hurt you in different ways, and obviously they have a very experienced attacker, in Lomis. So those are going to be things that we have to keep track of. The other thing is that, it's a physically big team. They're, as far as size, and that's something that, we're not, So we've been working a lot on set pieces, been working a lot on defensive shape. I mean, I think offensively we do have some dynamic guys that can do some stuff. But as you saw in last game, there were moments in which defensively we just looked very childish, and so those are things that we really since we were able to go on full tilt, we've addressed that on a daily basis and how to defend as a unit.
What do you think would be the biggest key into being able to counteract such a possessive team like El Paso?
It's being organized and defending numbers, So, I mean, if we're only defending 1 or 2 numbers when they have three guys around, they'll be able to move the ball around because they're an extremely technical team. So when we do is we have to make sure that we trap them. We defend in numbers. There's moments in which, we have to mix it up between being able to press them and being able to sit back and be in a middle block. And I think that if we're able to do that successfully, we're going to be fine. The other thing is when we do have the ball, we can't just give the ball away, and we can't have that I think sometimes that's when we're a little immature, that we have the ball and we just think that we have to score right away. We have to make sure that we do manage the rhythm of the game a little bit more, and being able to pass the ball around, move the ball around, and also wear them out. Have them defend. So that's important. I think that's something that we got away with even when we played them last year at their place. When we played them at their place, the first half we were just so anxious. But then in the second half, we kind of settled. And even though we were down 2-0, we settled and we started moving the ball around and having long possessions. And we were able to come back. And I think that if the game goes another 10 minutes, we probably could have been able to pull that off, but it was just that, and that was an adjustment that, I know Fernando, our video guy, was able to show us and say to us, it's like, listen, we're so impatient. And when we did that, we had fun. And then obviously when we played them here, we were able to pull it off and do a little bit of the same.
So before I pass it on to Ray for his questions, I do want to remind everybody to be sure to, if you guys are liking this live stream, you're liking this show, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Be sure to share it with all of your friends on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tinder, whatever you have. Just share it out there. Coach Echeverry is on the show. It's a good opportunity to know more directly from the source what's happening with this team. So share it out there. Ray, take it away.
Coach, you were mentioning about the talking and defending in numbers and defending as a unit. Uh, I was looking at the roster earlier this week and even prior to the show. Um, is that an area where you're a little bit more concerned about because you don't have the support from the Houston Dynamo, being that your roster is completely trimmed down at this point, not having anyone from the Dynamo down here at this point?
Yes, obviously, whenever you're short. I mean, right now we have a total of 20 players. You know what I'm saying? So it's not that's not easy when that's the case. And so it's it is a bit trim, but we have been working with other guys playing multiple positions and moving some pieces around. And so it's like anything else, guys. Though you know what I mean. I think that. Opportunity knocks, you take advantage of. It's if someone's not here and they open the door for you, you have to take full advantage of it. Sometimes guys that we had maybe potential starters who are not here with us. Well, now it's your turn to showcase yourself, and maybe you move yourself up. I mean, listen, the prime example was last year. The last guy that we signed, well, not that we signed, but the last guy in preseason that we picked on our team was Isidro Martinez. And we had some back and forth uh, not arguing, but just talks back and forth, discussions, and going back and forth, and ultimately, I will say that we won, and look what he did. I mean, he came from being a guy that Houston wasn't sure about, to last year being our most consistent player, and a player that has a pretty good future and is in the sights of the Dynamo, hopefully calling him up. So for sure, we thought if there was going to be an open cup, he was going to be up. Obviously, it's a little difficult with COVID right now in regards to moving up and down and stuff like that. So who knows, how that's going to entail itself. But that's not, that's out of his control, out of anybody's control. But that's where it is. You make the best. Anytime you have an opportunity, you got to seize it. If you don't, and it is. It's rarely when anybody is the man from the time that they're like, U5 all the way up to the pros and to what not. It's different guys peak at different moments and different guys shine at different moments. And sometimes just you get that opportunity and, everything happens, so they need to make the best of it.
And one last one before I hand the microphone over to Jacob. Uh, One of your colleagues was quoted sometime last week with, "You are a side that is not afraid to field 18 to 19-year-olds and hang with the pros for 90 straight minutes." Is that a huge compliment to your team that you're willing to put in an 18 and 19-year-olds if you have to, and hang with these more mature professional players and give them battle for 90 minutes?
I think so. I think it's important, and that's been a philosophy that's just been handed down from from the Dynamo down, and sometimes some people applaud it, some people don't, and so that's where it is, and I think that's what we've been we talked about. That's our identity, and it's about patience, because if you do see, and even over the last at least, I mean, I don't want to speak when Junior was here, because I think Wilmer's team was a little bit older than that when he had him with some players, but but if you notice that we do play those young guys, and then when you see the first half of the season, it's a little. But then when you see the second half of the season, and it's we've always been like, man, we're 3 games away. If we could have done this 3 games earlier, if we could have done this maybe 4 games earlier and gotten on this run and gotten in this, but that's what it is. And we're not afraid of putting 18-year-olds and stuff. Now it's just a matter of making sure that those 18-year-olds are winning games at an earlier rate, so we are able to make the playoffs and make them run into the playoffs, and hopefully win a trophy, and because that's the ideal thing to do. But yeah, no, it is, and it just sometimes it takes a little longer, just like anything else. You need a little bit of experience. I'm assuming similar to you guys when you first got on the mic, you're blah 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 blah, blah, blah. And now everything comes out smooth. You know what I mean? And you guys are ultimate professionals in this. So, like anything else, remember your first recording to the one maybe you did yesterday. Yeah, exactly. You're shaking your head for a reason. You're like, I sound like that? Oh my God. That was horrible. Isn't it the worst when you hear your voice though? Is it me or is
I mean,
is that...
I hit my voice in general, but what can I do?
Okay. No, but I'm saying when you hear your voice, I'm
Yes.
like, God, man, you sound like crap.
Mhm.
It's like, this is terrible. Like, I don't know how you guys, because you guys do it all the time, but I'm like, I hate hearing my voice at times. That's why I don't go back and listen to my interviews. It's like, it's the sound of how I sound is oof.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that's the key, guys. But I think this year we have some. The one thing I will say this: we have some college guys that seem to be a little bit more mature. I don't know if that makes sense. We still have our young guys, we still have our Beckfords, we still have our Rochas. Well, I mean, obviously Nico just got sent up. So we still have a couple of the 20-year-olds and stuff like that. And so but the college guys seem to have a little bit more maturity to them right now, and so that's I think that's going to help, and that's shown. Obviously, it didn't show in the first game, but it's shown that we saw it in preseason and we've seen it so far. So I think that's important.
Jacob?
Yeah, of course, that is the big thing of just seeing the progress that your team has made. But I guess my questions would be more on the technical side of things, probably maybe out of your hand. But of course, the biggest questions, and we were just about to get into this before you joined us, but have you heard anything about, I know you're focused on this week, but for the future when you come home for a home match, have you heard anything about what the protocols are going to be there for fans?
I mean, I think there's 2 different protocols. One is what's going to happen. We know what the protocols are when we're in the locker room and stuff like that. And then the other set of protocols is whether we're going to have fans or not. And I think right now it all depends in what our governor is thinking of doing. You know what I mean? And so I think there has been some discussion with a lot of the arenas and any of the, all of the teams that are playing in the USL. And I do think that they're going to be more on the safe side. And particularly, I mean, I just saw some article right now that, we're like, the way we peaked, it's awful. So I think we also need to make sure that there is some social responsibility that we need to have, that as much as we want, and when I have fans, because we want to play in front of fans. I mean, these guys are entertainers. They want to entertain, and it's different entertaining in a lonely stadium as opposed to when you have people around. And so that's the one thing is that it's just a matter of making sure that we're safety. I mean, I believe our hospitals are pretty much full capacity, and I'm not sure if any of the teams in Texas or for us, do we want to try to add more to that? You know what I mean? So that's the question that needs, but that's above my paycheck. So you know. So, but I do think we need to be safe. We need to be careful, and so and I have all the assurance and I have all the confidence that if we do open, it's because we're prepared and we know that we can do all the right stuff. I mean, we've had some events right now. We're having testing at HEB. We had the blood drive. We had all that stuff. Unfortunately, it went really, really well. So, I think that we are, but if the cases, that's out of our control, if the cases around us keep going up, we know we can control that. But if everything around us keeps going up, then that's you know what I mean? That's a cocktail for disaster. So I think like I said, I think the HEB people and all of the people above us will try to read into those numbers and figure something else where it's safe for everyone, our fans, our staff, and the players, of course, which is the most important and for me, you know what I mean? So because I can catch it and I don't play, so it doesn't matter. I can coach from video, from TV.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's basically all I've got for you because, yeah, they basically covered everything that needed to be asked, in my opinion. I guess the main thing is, I know you probably don't like to predict, but what will be your prediction for a final score, just in case?
Oh no, that's
No.
I want to predict us scoring one more goal than them. How's that?
Yeah, all right.
That's what it is. That's what it is. I like to have one more goal than that. No, but I think going into this game is like anything else it's really and not just us, but every team is nobody got in a rhythm. Mm-hmm. So you got, so you're in preseason, and it usually takes you about 4 games, 3-4 games to try to almost get yourself into some type of rhythm. For us, it's usually a little longer because we do have that coming up and down, you know what I mean, in regards to having that. So, but that's what it is. So everybody's back at 0, or I would say probably even less, for some teams. Because like I said, we were pretty fortunate to have all of our guys here. Some teams that, let their players go back home and they didn't come back and were able to at least train together and do some stuff together. So I'm not sure how El Paso did, to be quite honest, but I know that there were some other teams in which they didn't really have all of their players together as, living together and stuff like that, and being able to work, when they were working out, Zoom calls and doing all these things. So, and some, some just came back last week. Some players just rejoined the teams in a week, and some are even getting signed in the last couple of days. So yeah, I mean, I do see it, the first few games being pretty sloppy, to be quite honest with you, and especially you might see some sloppiness because that field that we're going to play on is pretty tight. So there might be a lot of contact and stuff like that. How are the referees going to call? I mean, they haven't been working in a while. So are they going to let things go a little bit more? They're going to call, like, how is this? And we know if it becomes a physical kick fest and everything, we're usually on the losing side of that because we're a little naive. So, we're hoping that the referee is a little bit quicker to the whistle. So.
Yeah. Exactly. Not losing your head is going to be key.
So, Coach, I'm assuming that based on the protocols that the USL has implemented, that the team is going to be taking a bus ride to El Paso?
Yes. We will be busing to El Paso. We will be leaving today around 5 o'clock in the morning, hopefully getting there 11 plus hours later. We have mandatory stops that we have to take. So, there's protocols of, the spacing in between seatings and all this other stuff and who can be around. Obviously, you got to be with a mask the whole time, sanitizing your hands constantly. So, yeah, there's a lot of things to make sure, but the fortunate thing is that right now we've been very fortunate that our guys have done well and not caught anything. So and we're hoping to keep it that way, and it's knock on wood, and especially right now. I mean, with everything that's going on around here, like it's so easy,
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
The reason I bring it up because I feel like that's going to be that long trip is going to be a factor going into this match, at least in my eyes, because you've got the added fatigue of going through a long bus ride.
Well, just that we have a long, and that's what it is. Even the beginning of the season, it's a little bit uncertain because think about this. So we play, we take 11 plus hour drive. We're gonna play, and then as soon as we play, we come back.
Hmm.
And so then now we have to have the recovery to prepare for San Antonio. Well, we're San Antonio's first game.
Yes.
Then we go to Oklahoma, whatever it is, and then we go to San Antonio, and that's San Antonio's second game. Like we're their first two games, so they get a lot to prepare from. So we're basically playing, quite a few games before to there. So that's going to be so. For us is what kind of rotation are we going to be able to pull off, making sure that everybody's healthy and making sure that everybody's recovered, and that's going to be the thing that guys are going to have to be ready to play, and a lot of it has to do not so much for performance, but just from a fatigue point of view. And so we need to be very, very careful with our numbers. We need to be very careful with, and so this week, everything that we've done has been based to make sure that we are very successful for the next 3 games, because not only, not only for points wise, but from a physical point of view, that this could be really, really difficult for us to recover, and now we'll be fatigued for the rest of the season because we, especially, like I said, we have 20 guys. So we don't have 24 to 28 guys like some teams. So, but the one good thing is, what we do have? Young legs. So that's where it's a bit of a positive, and then sometimes, what? Hey man, you gotta chew on some dirt once in a while to see, to get some hair in your chest. You know what I mean? So I think these guys are ready to fight, ready to go. I'm very, very confident in their attitude. I'm very confident in their mentality, and I'm pretty confident that what happened last time has been extremely embarrassing for all of us, and they've owned up to it. So, and trust me, we've done a lot of video on it. So, yeah, poor guys.
Coach,
Last 2 questions from me, unless Ray has something you wanted to say.
I've got one. Coach, when was the last time you ever endured an 11 to 12 hour bus ride trip? When was the last time?
I don't remember.
That's how long it's been.
I don't. I mean, I've been fortunate. You know what I mean. Where we played, we didn't have to. We either flew. You know what I mean. I mean, even in college, I think the longest bus drive in college when I played was 4 hours. We didn't, anything beyond that. You flew. And so, yeah. But I mean, right now, and that's what happens with us. But right now, we have no choice. The airports are a mess, and we don't need to have what happened to FC Dallas or to Nashville happen to us. Because imagine that if we have 4 guys who get it, what do we drop down to?
16.
And that's including keepers. Remember that.
Yeah.
So imagine if, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Have
So,
no
yeah.
keeper.
No. Any of you? Oh, maybe we'll sign. What's his name? The guy who's the expert keeper. Remember that we had the interview with? What's his name? I forget. After the first game.
Oh yeah. Yes, I know who you're talking about.
Maybe.
And he can come and show Paul how to do it.
So my final 2 questions, and this is all based on last week's a press conference. So you mentioned last week 3 players that were injured. You mentioned Ben Willis, you mentioned Kyle Edwards, and you mentioned Tyberson. What is the status going into this week?
Yeah, Ben is out. Can't really go into detail because of medical reasons. I'm not allowed to share that. And so but he's out. Kyle is not really ready. Tyberson is ready. So.
And my final question: you also mentioned that there were 3 potential signings. What is the time frame for some official word from the team?
Yeah, I mean, we're hoping. Yeah, we're hoping something comes out, and yeah, soon. we should have them. I think we're hoping that they'll be ready for this weekend.
Sounds good. I guess we'll just wait for the official word from the team.
Yeah. You need to get the official one from them.
Yeah. No, I was just asking, like, when can we expect the official announcement to be made?
I'm hoping soon. But
yeah.
I'm hoping that there'll be. I mean, everything's been put in place for them for this weekend. So we're just kind of waiting. So that's why it hasn't really been publicized, I guess, just yet. So
correct. So
a lot of stuff is a little slow nowadays with COVID.
Yeah, I bet with all the protocols that they have to go through and then be added to, it's a mess, which I definitely understand. But any other questions, guys? That you guys want to ask before we let them go?
I'll wait till Friday.
Oh boy.
I think I got one more question.
I'm not doing that conference on Friday now, so there you go. So you gotta ask already. Today it is, man. This is the one. This is the one that I wanted to do, and that's it. So I don't know if you don't ask, Ray.
Que lo diga ahora o que calle para siempre.
Y que Dios bendiga a todos aquellos.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Jacob. What were you saying, bud?
But yeah, so it's really interesting because, of course, first sport, I guess, in the U.S. really, besides, of course, UFC never really shutting down was
awesome.
Exactly. Dana White was absolutely insane. He is a crazy person. But the main thing was, of course, NASCAR and what they started to do, which you never really notice this until you get older and older and figure out that science is actually, it's crazy with all the G-forces and stuff. They were running, of course, their biggest race, 600 to, then they had a midweek race that was close to 400 miles as well. And it's all these drivers that the cars, of course, your regular car, if you don't have AC on, especially in South Texas during the day and stuff, it gets up to 2 times the heat basically. And so there was one driver or a couple of drivers who lost a lot of weight, and that was basically due to water and stuff. And so since you're, just like you said, the crazy schedule that you have is you travel up to El Paso, then you travel back, you go to San Antonio, then basically it's a crazy thing. I know that's going to be a huge impact, but what will there be to do to basically keep your players from not being able to lose at least a lot of weight from just water and stuff?
It's it's before and the after. So before, making sure that they're constantly drinking because they're gonna get dehydrated on the bus drive. That's for sure. So we have cases and cases of water that we have for them, and we have the coolers and keeping them cold for them to be able to pump as they're going there. So basically, and then we have a chart, if it's this color, you're hydrated. If it's this color, you're not. And so that's what it is. And then the key is, throughout, obviously it's supposed to be like 103 degrees up there. So it's going to be pretty toasty. Now, what does that do is we train here in the mornings. And that's for a reason to also get ourselves a little bit of climatized and stuff like that. So, for some of the guys who've been around, I don't think it's as bad. For some of the newer guys, we know it has been, particularly like we said, a couple of the guys that we've been looking at to sign. It's important that we have, right after, during the game, right after the game is how fast can you put fluids back, and then more importantly is what proteins and what carbohydrates are you putting back to just start the recovering process, to help all those fibers that you've torn and to start to repair. Not ideal to get on a bus for 11 hours right after the game. So those guys are going to be shot. So it's important for us is when we get back, we have to get a workout in after 11 hours. So as soon as we get off the bus, we're probably going to have to get a workout in right away just to get the lactate. Now, think about that. You play a game, you get on the bus for 12, and then you got to work out to get the lactate. And then manage the next 2 days. So, and that's what it is, where it's going to have to be video walkthroughs. You can't really do much because you got to get those legs back. You got to make sure that, what their intake, and it's going to be extremely important, the responsibility that you as an athlete, you got to take care of your own temple, is what are you putting in your body? If you're going to put crap food, if you're going to put the wrong fluids in your body, if you're going to start drinking Cokes, if you're going to start drinking sodas, Pepsis, Sprites, whatever the hell, God forbid you're drinking any beer or any of that stuff, that's completely counterproductive. You know what I mean? And so it's important for the players to just take responsibility and ownership of their bodies, and I mean, Randy does, Randy, Craig, you know what I mean? Our whole staff does a really good job, and Anthony and JP, our strength and conditioning guys, they do a really good job in regards to, giving them what they should eat, their, proper proteins to eat, proper carbs to eat, they can have a cheat day and stuff like that. So all of those things, because they're still human, so what it is that they have to do to take care of themselves. So, you know what I mean? So they can look like they do young and then not get like this when they get older, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's and more importantly is to stay injury free. That's the key. So,
Well, Coach, we really appreciate you taking the time to come on the show and talk to us about how the team is doing. We, like I said, we're really glad to have you as a coach. Not only what you do on the field, but off the field. You try to be as transparent as possible with us, with the media. Try to give a quick update on what is happening. Honestly, we wish you and the team the best of luck. Safe travels starting tomorrow morning, and hope we can get a win against El Paso and start the season off strong.
Absolutely, no, that's what we're looking forward to do, guys. It's really, really start strong, and I think that these guys, they owe it to a lot of people to make sure that they put on a good performance. Obviously, you can't always win or lose, but it's about putting the right performance and playing together as a team. And if they do that, we're going to give ourselves a chance.
All right, Coach.
All right.
Just real quick, Santos and Michael from the Stampede says hi from them and from all of the Stampede as well.
All right, say hi to the Stampede guys. Miss them, got to have to get on one of those Zoom calls again pretty soon.
Hint.
It was fun. It was pretty fun. Lemonade hours they called it, right? Lemonade.
Yes.
Just lemonade or orange juice. That's
can't go wrong with the basic water.
The water.
But Coach, thank you so much, and hope to have you back on soon. And I will be the one that will contact you.
Oh, okay. We'll see. You kind of, big timing me. I mean, Ray doesn't want to ask questions and all, it's on his time and all that. I mean, I don't know. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying, Jacob? He just kind of big time me and just like, well, no, I'll ask you later. I'll ask you in my turn. Whenever I want to say something.
Oh, ya perdimos el piso.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Start to count.
All right, boys. Well, if anything else, just hit me up, and then say hi to everybody. Please be safe, guys. Stay safe, not only for you guys, but all of your listeners. This virus is for real, man. It's we're losing a lot of people because of it, and we just gotta make sure that we're responsible and
wear a mask.
And I mean, it's really. Yeah, I mean, it's that simple, you know what I mean? Just wear a mask, and I know, it's not violating anybody's rights, just respect each other, and that's what it is. But be safe, all right?
All right,
boys.
Coach.
Take it easy.
Have a good
Take
evening.
care of yourselves, okay? All right. Bye.
So, guys, that was one thank Coach for having on. A lot of interesting tidbits to discuss about. I know that it is 8:00 right now, so we'll throw in. I think we'll throw in just a couple of quick topics that we want to discuss as a group, and then we'll kind of take it from there. Because remember, at 9 p.m. we've got the Dash playing against Sky Blue FC. But biggest bombshell, definitely that at least for this weekend, Ben Willis is out.
Not Joe Willis.
That is a blow. I think that is a huge blow to the team, to the roster. It's a keeper that we were waiting so long to see him play. A keeper that while he was too young, he did not get minutes under Nico Corti. We were excited to see him play because from what we did see from him last season, he showed really good things.
Yes.
But now he's, at least for this weekend, he's out. How big of a blow that is.
Well, the good thing is that we've already seen Paul Blanchett between the pipes. Okay.
Ay, Dios mío. Dios mío.
Yeah, I know. Look, I know where you're going with that, Edson. I know, but I mean, hey, it was a bad start for the team, but someone needs to be
True.
between the pipes.
True.
And,
True.
and I feel it was such a bad sample that we got from Blanchett. So I'm gonna go ahead and give the guy the benefit of a doubt to see if he can recover and have a strong performance this weekend in El Paso at least. Give him this chance at least in El Paso.
So I know that a lot of people are going to listen to you and they're going
They're
to
gonna want to throw darts. I understand that.
yeah. But I mean, I honestly get what you're saying. Like, it's a really small sample size, one game. But what we saw, I know he has a lot of rust that he's got to shake off. But what we saw was just bad. Yes, the defense left him out to dry multiple times. But when you're a good keeper, you have to show up when you are needed, right?
Yep.
And
Yes.
Blanchett did not show that. Now, with COVID, putting a break on training for so long, I'm scared. I'm honestly worried on how Paul Blanchett is going to be coming into this match. You know, because any momentum that he could have gotten, if there was continuous practice, he's lost it, and now you're pretty much gonna have to start from zero. So I don't know. I'm worried. Hopefully he shuts my mouth up on Saturday if he does start. But I'm worried. I am definitely worried about how he's going to perform on Saturday.
Just remember the list I sent you.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that because I
Just
think
remember that list I sent you. Okay, let's take a look at that for a minute.
sure. Let
Who
me
else
grab
do you see on that list?
Ryan Coulter. And you brought up something interesting about Ryan Coulter before, I think yesterday or the day before, if you want to talk about that.
He's basically a player coach at this point. And I just think that okay, his previous stop was at your favorite USL League One team, Wisconsin, the Mingos.
Flamingo.
Flamingo. So I am gonna lean. Okay, if you're not gonna start with Blanchett, I can kind of see where they can go with Coulter on this. I can kind of see them going with Coulter. I absolutely see it.
What's
But
up, Johnny?
at this point, I am more lenient on having. I'm more lenient on having Blanchett for now. He's the guy who's had the one game between the pipes, but I can also see why they can go with Coulter.
But you mentioned something about culture that was
The
kind of
player
important.
coach.
That he's a player coach. Yeah, and you mentioned that there was the fact that he's player coach brings in some difficulties to the team.
It does because I think there's like two. It's the way USL can be structured, and I don't remember where else I've seen the player coach label get applied to. But
We saw it from Rooney.
yes, it's. I think it happens to deal with the financials of it. Now, if it's like a contract where he's like under the obligation to do both, then hey, I'm all for it. If it's gonna be one of those things like, okay, the player clause is activated and there has to be something added to that. okay, I get a little worried. But from there, I mean, I I, I would be comfortable with either keeper going. One, because Coulter does have that in-game experience with Madison,
Hmm.
and of course Blanchett because he's had the only start that the team has had. Now let's move on to the defenders. Rail
This is
thin.
this is where the biggest problem I have with the roster
Yeah.
comes into play.
Because we gave all of the rest of our defenders basically to Houston Dynamo. Do they help us out? Nope.
No, but it's like one of Gerson's colleagues said. He is not afraid to field an 18 to 19-year-old,
I
and
mean,
that will give you the absolute battle for 90 minutes.
that's what that's what we have, but academy players
That's
from
all we
either.
have.
Yeah, I mean,
So it's not like it's because of his choice.
yeah, and if you go even further down the roster, the midfielders, okay, I can kind of see 2 to 3 of those midfielders dropping back and playing in the defensive position if the team plays the 4-4-2 formation, of which we're used to seeing.
Yeah, and so let me look. Let me say what the roster is for the defenders. We only have number 3, Robert Coronado. Number 4, Robert Castellanos. Los dos Robertos, right? Number 5, Diego Rocha, straight from the RGVFC Academy. Number 20, Emil Legault, who did not play in the first match due to his international documentation, not having arrived in time to play in the first match. And now the midfielders, to kind of go into your point, number 7, Isidro Martinez. Number 8, Timo Melic. Number 10, Victor Garza. Number 11, Kevin Rodriguez. Number 14, Luca Perpa, who I believe he was number 22, and that's Kembo Kibato, who did not play in the first match either because of his international documentation not arriving in time. And number 29, Cristian Lucatero. Now, you mentioned that you see probably 2 midfielders being dropped down to play defensive positions. Coach Echeverry mentioned right now at the interview, he said that they have been playing a couple of players, trying him out in different positions to try to get him used to try to kind of alleviate this depth issue on the defensive side. My number 1 is Victor Garza going to be playing defensive, going to be playing left back or right back. We saw it from him in 2017. We saw it from him in the first match. He was coming off of an injury, so he didn't look as sharp as he should have. But when he played under Junior Gonzalez back in 2017 in that position, he looked really good, not only in attack but also in the defense. But Ray, who else do you see out of these midfielders? Who else do you see playing as a defender?
Kibato, the Canadian, the young Canadian.
Mhm.
I kind of see him playing a little bit in defense if the paperwork does come through, and with the experience that he kind of has from the outside, I would like to see him play a little bit in defense because he also has in-game experience with TFC too. So I I, I like his prospects. But everyone else that you kind of listed on that roster, aside from Victor Garza, I think the only safe bet I can make is Skibata.
Jacob.
It's tough. That's all I can say. It's really tough up in the defense, and I do agree. If everything goes well for Kimbo Kibato, he will be basically our savior on the defense. It's just a thing of making sure that you can keep this team healthy right now. That's the basics of it all. And yeah, if we have to go with a young gun like him, let's go for it for sure.
And coach is not afraid to do it either, Jacob. Let's
Yeah.
take that into consideration.
Yeah, I think once again, yeah, that's basically our only opportunity, and we have it. And it goes also, I know I'm kind of stuttering right now, but it kind of goes back to the past seasons. What has been our biggest concern? Yes, we have basically had our regular starters, but remember when we would always get into the situation of injury-prone team or just injuries basically because the season is so long, grueling, and players would get taken
Well,
up
just remember that these first 2 weeks are going to be probably the most important. Why? Because you have 4 games in a 14-day span. 3 of those where you're going to involve long bus trips.
Yes.
Yeah. My point was just that the bench warmers wanted to play. They wanted the minutes. They felt like they were better than the starters sometimes, and they got their opportunities, and sometimes they did not necessarily perform well. So, yes, I think we've always had a team that our bench warmers, our young players, have always been up for the challenge. So I'm actually excited to see that. So, yes, I do think that is just the way to go. You go to the midfield, it's the same deal, strikers, the same deal. Of course, we've got our veteran strikers, but at that same point, just like you said, we could maybe decide to only play them for so long because of how grueling our schedule is.
But you know what's interesting? In past seasons, and I'm just going to focus on the defense side of things. Mm-hmm. In past seasons, we technically, even if we're not counting Dynamo loanees, we would used to have at least one player, as a backup for every position. We used to have Sergio Mena. We used to have what was his name? Jackson. We used to have who else? We used to have defenders. You know, even Castellanos was a backup to our starting center back pair, which was Kyle Adams, who was still 100% a USL player, and Connor Donovan. And then if Connor was up in Houston, well, that we had Castellanos. But you had depth in defensive position. Right now we have zero depth in the defensive position, and it all goes back to the lack of planning by the people here down Plaza Las Americas in downtown Houston. That's who I blame. The lack of planning to help bolster both teams to prepare them for this tournament. You cannot tell me that you did not have enough time to make sure you have a steady. If you knew you were already going to sign Kyle Adams, if you knew that you wanted to sign Nico Lemoyne, why not prepare the way to replace those holes with somebody else and not have to scramble at the last second to do so? And now we're left in a situation we only have starters and we have to improvise with other players for depth. I find it utterly ridiculous, and now I'm ranting again.
I mean, I'd just say this for one player, Kyle Adams. He was technically signed from the start of the year. From the start of the season, like when we had the whole get-togethers, even at our owner's house, basically, he was basically already signed to the Houston Dynamo. They might not have made everything official just yet, but he was already going to be a part of the Houston Dynamo in general and come down for a couple of times. That's why, of course, we saw him down in the RGV for the first game, but he was already technically signed to an MLS contract for Houston.
Which is what I'm saying. This was before.
Oh, you're talking about before. Yeah. No, go on with your
So Kyle Adams gets signed in preseason. Mm-hmm. This was the official announcement was dated at the day they had public practice at BBVA Stadium. I was on my way to the stadium when they made the announcement. You cannot tell me that the Dynamo, even from then to the beginning of the season, did not have time to get some more people. Who did they get? And I'm glad they got him because he is a talent of the border. He's a talent of the RGVFC Academy, Diego Rocha, which I'm glad they signed him. But why didn't you sign more depth?
That is true.
Like I said, at least one per player. You cannot rely 100% on players being brought down because other than Junqua, the other defenders weren't really brought into the mix. Who does the Dynamo have on center defensive? Center defense. Kiki Struna, Minor Figueroa, Alejandro Formayor, which hopefully he never comes back. Victor Cabrera, and you've got Who else? Eric McHugh. Now, my way of thinking is that we're thinking that, okay, we're going to be sending Eric McHugh to to have him play minutes at RGV.
Yeah.
But now you have a situation where, for depth purposes, they have everybody, including those who you signed, going to Orlando, and you left RGV in a pickle.
Definitely.
Now,
I know this is kind of tough here because right now the academy isn't fully stacked with players where Coach Echeverry can choose from and put them into USL Academy contracts.
mhm,
That's a dead given. But you go further down that roster list, you've got about 6 forwards to choose from, and only 2 are going to start.
mhm.
And that kind of leaves leaves the fact that at this point you might have to start, or not start, but bring in a Diego Rocha for some minutes. Eventually, we're gonna see that happen. When will it happen? I don't know, but I just feel like uh, that the academy signing will have to make an appearance this season.
Oh,
That's
definitely.
just my my hunch.
I mean, you have to. You only have 4 defenders at this point. We
Mhm.
don't know who. We don't know who and if people are or players are actually going to get signed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you never know. You never know what can happen between here and when it's actually officialized.
Yep.
Last week, Coach Echeverry managed the number three players that could be signed. Right now, like I said, it's like it's in Spanish. Del plato a la boca se cae la sopa. You don't know what's gonna happen. Negotiations can fall. Anything can happen, right? Until they make an official announcement, then we'll know who. But at this point, looking at this roster, if we don't have those 3 signings being defenders, then I don't know what's happening. This problem is blatantly obvious. You have an opportunity to fix this, and if you don't take advantage of it, you're left in a position where now you have to improvise.
Yeah.
And improvising is 50-50, depending on how good of a manager a coach is. Even the best managers in world soccer have failed to convert a player into a different position due to roster necessity or due to a tactical idea. So it's a huge risk that we have to endure that technically we shouldn't have needed to. So Michael says both Roberts need to show up on defense. They need to play their game that got him here. My dad says, by the way, huge shout out to my dad. He says Blanchett is a professional and should turn the page and go past the negatives of one night and show to himself how important it is to not never fall, but to get up and continue on. And
I agree with your pops on that one.
And Michael actually
One
says
game- One
go
game
ahead.
does not make your career.
That is true, and hopefully he can show that. But if he continues to give negative performances week after week, then we've got a serious problem here, which I hope we never have to touch. But
I
if
agree.
it does happen, just leaving you out there, just putting it out there, we are not afraid to discuss it and to call a spade a spade.
Yeah, definitely.
That's just the way that we conduct ourselves as a show.
And yes, if that does happen, luckily, of course, for him, he is decent at FIFA, so he might be able to make a career out of that too.
Seems legit. But but yes, forwards we've got Kyle Edwards, number 9, which we know that he's still not ready yet for week 1. Number 16, Garrett McLaughlin, who we saw good things in the first match against LA2 Los Dos. Deshane Beckford, number 31. Number 37, Tyberson, who coach just said he is ready to play going into week 1. And number 40, Juan Carlos Obregon.
I can kind of see McLaughlin starting in the second game. However, who will the partner be, though? Will you have a speedy Beckford? Will you have a grit and grind guy in Obregon? Or will we see the debut of Tyberson?
So let's go into that question. How, if you guys were Coach Echeverry at this moment, how would you play based on this roster? How would you play against El Paso?
I'll take the baton on this one.
Mm-hmm. And chat, if you guys want to give y'all's opinions, you're all more than welcome to do so on the chat.
I'll take the baton on this one, and I've discussed this with you off the air, and I'll take the Bulls by the horn here. Granted, if there are no more signings or Dynamo loanees, with the current shape of our roster, I would kind of break the Dynamo mold here and not be afraid to go a 3-5-2 if I have to. And why do I go to a 3-5-2? Because A, the depth that you have on defense, you got to have someone being able to sub in. And I like Diego Rocha. He's a good kid. I just don't feel like he's ready to be thrown out there. Will that moment come? Absolutely. I just don't feel that this might be the game to do so.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably play a 5-man midfield, a 3-5-2 formation. Okay, I would play a 5-man midfield because I feel like that's pretty much our strongest position, and I think the team can do a lot of damage. And of course, I would have 2 forwards. I would have McLaughlin, and I would probably put. And you know what? It pains me because I've seen both players play, but I'm gonna have to go with Beckford.
Why specifically? Why? What specifically about Beckford would you put him over Luca Purpa or any other attacker?
Well, I would like to see. I would like to see Beckford because he has a lot of pace to him. He he's he can take on 2 defenders. He's had that international play to his experience. Purpa and McLaughlin, yes, they did some good things in the opener. But I just feel like this might be a game where, with El Paso having a lot of experienced players, especially in their back line, I would like to see Beckford's speed break down that defense. That's just me, though.
Jacob.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Ray here, especially. I do enjoy watching Deshane Beckford out there. He's, from what we've already seen from last year to especially this season for that one game, yes, of course, it's tough to figure things out after one game when you have a totally new roster. But considering the way that he is, the way that his work ethic is and stuff like that, yes, indeed, I would love to see Deshane Beckford back there. He's just one of those athletes that will be right there when you need him. Young, he has almost a little bit of a leadership to him, which a lot of this team, it's very mature for their age, especially considering I don't even know our average age, but I'm pretty sure it barely creeps up to 20, if anything, 21 or 22 point something. So, yeah, indeed, I would, yeah, love to see Deshane Beckford right there and really just nothing more.
So you'd go with a 3-5-2 as well.
Oh, definitely, indeed. I think that really just suits our our program well, and there's no need for them really not to kind of go that way, especially if they've been practicing in that sort of thing. And I know we also talked about this last year too. We would like to see a little bit of variation sometimes with coach and what fits best. So if I had to guess in our next 3 game matches or so, we might see different styles of play just to see if it works. But for sure to start it off with the 3-5-2, that's going to be perfect.
So now we have to remember.
and I kind of have to agree with you, Jacob, only because of the depth that the team is lacking. That's kind of the
Yeah.
thing that I would have to agree. Granted, if there's no other outside help, whether it be signings or you're getting help from the Dynamo, which we we are not foreseeing at this point.
We also have to take into consideration El Paso Locomotive just signed Eder Borelli, ex Tigres, ex Liga MX, and ex Ascenso MX. Actually, I think he was with Juarez before.
He was with Juarez's team right before they got promoted. He was like one of those players that, okay, you meet the surplus requirements, you can leave.
So you're going up against experience. You're going up against talent. So I just don't know, man. To me, given the circumstances, I go with 3-5-2 and hope that El Paso is not good with long balls. We saw that in the match between Houston Dash against Utah Royals. Utah Royals played a 3-5-2 because they saw, or they felt that the Houston Dash were more of a possessive team, and it worked for a couple of minutes. The pressure that the midfield and the attackers put on the defense in their transition into attack really hurt the Dash. It hurt their passing accuracy, which doesn't help that it was their first game back after 8-9 months of inactivity. Yeah. So, but how did the Dash get a 3-1 lead and then blow it? But that's a different discussion. How did they get a 3-1 lead? Well, they saw that there was a lot of space behind the midfield out on the wings. Pass that ball to Rachel Daly. Pass that ball to Veronica Latsko. They took advantage of those spaces, and with only three defenders in the back, and you had at moments you had like 4 or 5 attackers from the Houston Dash going into your box. There's really nothing you can do. So having a 3-5-2 formation is going to take a lot of sacrifice from those wings that whoever's out there on the midfield. So let me just okay. So if you're going to be playing a 3-5-2 formation, you're probably going to have a left and a right midfielder, right? Which will probably be Kevin Rodriguez or either Christian Lucatero or Kevin or Christian Lucatero. You're going to have a lot of sacrifice from them to try to help that defending those wings. That's the way I see it. Now, is the fitness going to be up to par for them to be able to make that kind of sacrifice? We don't know. Go ahead.
I will say this much: if it is indeed a 3-5-2, I would probably line up Victor Garza as one of those defensive mids that. Okay, yes, he knows how to go play up front and stuff like that. At least for this game, play him back more defensively. If there's opportunity to move up the pitch and try to create some damage, okay, I see that. And the other midfielder who I would probably sacrifice just trying to go up, uh, it would probably be Lucatello at this point. It would probably have to be Lucatello, and that therefore you would give the freedom to like a Kevin Rodriguez and Isidro Martinez and the fifth midfielder of choice to try to handle the midfield offensive push.
So I think we can safely assume that we are all in agreement that based on this depth, a 3-5-2 would be good. Now, right? So
Yes.
this is the way this is the way that I would line them up. Okay, Paul Blanchet more than likely is going to get the call up as a keeper. I don't have a doubt about that. Now that with Ben Willis gone for this match, at least it'll probably be Paul Blanchet. I don't see them getting Ryan Coulter to become a player as well as being the, even though he has signed a.
I know it's a player coach thing. It wouldn't surprise me if there's a number next to his name. It would not surprise me.
So okay, so I would go with Rob. I'd go with Emil Gol, Castellanos, and Rob Core as your three defenders. Your two defensive midfielders, Isidro and Kembo. Out on the wings, Kevin and Victor. Center attacking midfielder, Luca Perpa. Forwards, Garrett McLaughlin. And I'm going to go with Obregon.
Okay, I see that happening. Why not? Being that there's some depth left in the midfield and some depth left at strikers, the super sub that I would probably put in there would be Tyberson. In case the center attacking mid goes down with injury, I would love to see Tyberson step in that role.
Yes.
I kind of see that happening.
What would be your? So you mentioned a couple of players. I want to hear y'all's size before we go into predictions and then signing out for today's show.
Like I said, my super sub is going to be Tyberson just based on the formation you gave.
Mm-hmm.
Blanchett as the keeper. DJ Rob Core, being one of my one of the first choice defenders. So is Robert Castellanos. The back line of three, of course. I'm trying to think how else would I line how I would align my defense. Emil Legault being my other defensive choice, and a midfield, I would put Isidro and Victor as the defensive stoppers. Wingers, or not necessarily a winger, but I would probably put like a third defensive mid in there, kind of like a guy who would orchestrate an attack. Timo Milic would be the guy. My two wingers, I would probably put Kevin Rodriguez and Christian Lucatello, and have Victor Garza kind of be that defensive sub in case one of our defenders goes down.
Mm-hmm.
Up front, of course, I would have Beckford and McLaughlin. And
Jacob?
And before Jacob takes the stage, super sub forward Juan Carlos Obregon.
And Tyberson.
Yeah, as a super sub attacker.
Jacob.
Yeah, y'all have some great points with the rosters, and I think, I'd have to go more, of course, with I think Rays, because you have more of the young guns out there. It makes perfect sense. And yes, of course, we have the man, the myth, the legend in that goal. Sadly, of course, not Joe Willis. Please do get better, and hopefully we will see you very, very soon. If anything, of course, we could go on and on about what he could have or whether it be like an ACL tear, maybe out for the season or something dumb like that, or broken arm.
Good
Haven't
guy, no.
necessarily seen his Instagram lately. I know he posts a lot on there, but mainly, of course, inspirational things, which is great on him. I like what he does, keep it up. But yeah, going back to it, really, I think I basically have the same thing as Ray. I'd really just say almost the exact lineup as Ray does, because it just fits at the moment. At least it just fits really good. You have Juan Carlos Obregon in at bench, maybe even start Obregon and have a super sub of somebody like Beckford, and maybe have that at least a couple of events. Maybe, of course, this first one we see Obregon start instead of him. So it could go either way. I do like that. I really do like that lineup indeed. Hopefully we do see it this week, and we can get things going from there, as long as, of course, just like Coach said, we keep it calm. Then we could get out of there with a draw, which I don't see anything wrong with getting out of there with a draw.
And we also have to take into consideration regarding Tyberson. He's coming off of an injury, so you don't really want to put him at a starting position right away. So you want to put him on the bench. If you don't have to use him, better for him. Because if you rush him in, you run into an issue of him going back into an injury.
Yeah.
So, that's pretty much it. Predictions. You mentioned a draw, Jacob.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think it will be back to a 2-2 draw.
Ray.
I see a draw, one apiece. We score in the second half.
I'm going to go... Oof. My gut says 1-1 draw. It's going to be, like Coach said, it's going to be a really super sloppy match. But I feel with fatigue going into play with that 11-hour drive, I really wouldn't be surprised if the Toros lose this 1-0 or 2-1. But I'm hoping for a draw. My prediction is a draw, but don't
be shocked. Yeah.
Don't be shocked if we lose this first match. Bold predictions, guys. Man, it's been a while. Let's get those bold predictions. Jacob.
Bold predictions. Yeah, it doesn't get any more bold than me, as well as, of course, this background. If you can't see right there, that stadium. Awesome pun right there. But either way, yeah, you see Austin Bold SC right there. But yeah, the bold prediction for me, probably we lose a couple of guys, as well as the other team does. Red cards.
Oh no!
Or at least a match. Yeah. We lose our
cannot
goalkeeper because he decided to go in a little too aggressively and tries to talk back to the ref. Yeah, that would be one of them. And then we lose a defender. Even worse, too. Yeah, one of the Roberts didn't do too great and went late. That's exactly how we got into this 2-2 situation.
God, I hope that does not happen. We do not need that. We do not need that kind of worry. Hopefully it doesn't happen. Ray, your bold prediction.
A ver si no pasa la tragedia.
Ay, no. Ni lo mande Deus.
No, pero que a nosotros nos favorece la tragedia.
True. What's your bold?
We went 2-1 on a stoppage time goal. I say McLaughlin taps it in. It's gonna be a scrum in the box. Everyone's trying to clear it out. That ball knocks down Tyberson, but McLaughlin picks up scraps and taps it in for a 2-1 away win.
My bold prediction is a 3-1 win. 3-1 win. That's my bold prediction. And my bolder prediction is Paul Blanchette is going to block a penalty.
Wow. Faith restored, huh?
It's a bold prediction. If this was a regular prediction, that would be faith restored. just being real out there. Okay. But Guys, I think that's gonna do it. This is an hour and 40 minutes long, and it doesn't feel like it. So once again, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for listening to us discuss the Toros. We really miss talking about tactics and rosters, and it's fun to talk about that. All of this time that we had shows, but we had nothing of that to talk about. It was like, what do we talk about now? What do we talk about now? But now we actually have all of that to talk about, and I'm really, really happy that you guys are here. You guys listened. You guys were interactive today. We really appreciate all of that. Quick reminder, guys. Be sure to follow us on our social media that's down there: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Follow us. Check out our website, ditvpodcast.com. Check out the Beautiful Game Networks at www.bgn.fm. You can find our podcast there as well, and any articles that Carson does for on No Bull All Toros for BGN. By the way, I do have to make a quick mention about his article for today. He mentions the fact that it kind of insinuates us, the fans, that we're critical about Dynamo loanees and saying that now there's not going to be any Dynamo loanees, which will make us happy. This is where you're wrong, Carson. At least me personally, even if it wasn't meant for me, but what I will say is, we are not critical of Dynamo loanees. We are critical on how they're being handled, being brought in at the last minute, coming in without the correct attitude to help build the team.
Definitely.
AKA Alejandro Fuenmayor and Ronaldo Peña. That is what we're critical
eye
of.
Emoji, geotag, McAllen, Texas.
That was
Peña.
That was Ronaldo. Yes, you're right. That was Peña.
Yeah, rolly eye, sleepy, McAllen,
The
Texas.
yacht emoji. But the point is, we're not critical of the idea of loanees. Well, we are critical of the fact that they bring them in at the night before.
Exactly.
That the fact that they come in, they don't give it in their 100%, or they get stupid red cards or anything like that. That is what we're critical of. And also, here's another thing that I'm critical of about loanees, that they get the advantage over somebody who has been doing a great job. I'm looking at you, Sam Chunqua, who in the majority of last season would get the start over Rob Coronado, even though Rob Coronado was doing really good, only because he was a Dynamo player. That is what we're critical of. Of course, Dynamo leagues, if done correctly, can be a good addition to the team. We're not against that. We are against all of these situations that I have been mentioning. So don't be mistaken about that. But
yeah, Carson.
Final thoughts.
AKA the fake Jack Grealish.
Ooh. Final thoughts, Ray.
No, I can't wait for Saturday night to get started in El Paso. Lord knows how I'll watch this game. I don't know how. So if there's if there's a vigilant stranger somewhere who I haven't met, I will probably find a way to cop in an El Paso RGV game well past my bedtime Saturday night. Thank you, COVID, and I'll try to sneak the game in one way or another.
Jacob?
Yeah, very excited about Saturday night indeed. Saturday night from friends, if you don't know about Chandler. But either way, yeah, that's what I'll be doing most likely on Saturday night, besides, of course, announcing some racing. But yeah, very excited about this. Very excited about what's going on right now. It's the rivalry of Miami and Orlando. It seems like that's actually going to be a bit of a rivalry. Things are getting very physical. And also, MLS at 8 a.m. in the morning for us. Doesn't get any better. Just, of course, some soccer in general. It's always fun to see that. But yeah, you're just very excited about what this future holds for us right now. I know it's only going going to go up, whether or not this season is successful. Who knows? We could have another stoppage in soccer once again if things keep spiking. We are supposed to have another spike in November. Hopefully that won't stop us from anything. So, yeah, very excited.
Just a quick reminder, there will be no Copa Tejas this season because El Paso and Austin Bold are not going to be playing at all this season. So no Copa Tejas for 2020. Hopefully we can have it back for 2021. So guys, that's going to be it for tonight. If you guys missed any part of this episode, be sure to check out our podcasts versions, our audio-only podcast versions on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, and TuneIn Radio. Like I said, there's going to be changes. We're going to be doing it on a topic-by-topic basis. Hopefully, that'll be easier for you all to follow each individual topic instead of having to go through almost 2 hours of show to try to get to a topic. And you're probably going to, whatever. So, guys, I really, really would ask of you, if you guys listen to it, give us a rating. Give us a rating on each of these platforms. Share it. Mention it on social media. Recommend it on social media. If you guys really enjoy what we talk about, share it on social media. Recommend it to all of your followers, saying, "Hey guys, check out Down in the Valley. They have a really good podcast and stuff." And I know Harry's been doing that a lot. With all of the USL podcasts. So if you guys enjoy it, that's all I ask of you. Just like it, share it, and if you guys have any feedback. Our Twitter is always.
The messages are open.
Yes, messages are open. Just let us know. Obviously, no. Let's talk blah 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 blah. We don't want none of that. Just constructive criticism. We really appreciate. Like I said, the fact that that I'm going to be taking the time out of my schedule to break this show into individual topics for the podcast. We're all dedicated to the show. We want this to be successful. We want this to be an outlet for you to know more about the team, more in depth than just like, the score line for this game was this and that. So, like I mentioned, we're doing this because we love this team. We're doing this because we love this. Obviously, we would like a lot huge numbers of listeners and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, that comes into the second term. We would appreciate a lot of listens, but we understand that we have to do our part to make this the show better for you all to earn your likes, earn your listens, earn your recommendations. We're still working on this, but we appreciate all of your support. Hopefully, we should be back next Wednesday to talk about the first San Antonio Derby for 2020 season, South Texas Derby. So can't wait to talk about that. I have a bet. I have a bet against Chuy Enriquez that I do not want to lose, because if the Toros lose more games that they win against San Antonio, I'll leave that as a surprise. But there's a lot going down the line for me against San Antonio. But
and Jacob, there's some smoke right behind me, as you can see. Some smoke.
Oh yeah.
Some smoke. And I'll leave it as that. Smoke.
I see that. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Be on the lookout on our social media. I will be announcing when the audio podcast is available. I'll probably upload a segment like either every day of the week or every other day. That way it'll lead on to next Wednesday's show, and the cycle will continue. Let me know if you guys enjoy that format. We'll see you all next week. Thank you, Jacob. Thank you, Ray, for coming in once again on the show. Really appreciate all of your feedback. We'll see each other next week. Take care.
And